Hi, good people. Welcome to Doctors of Medicine. Well, today we're going to talk about the arteries that supply the thorax. Now, going straight to the point, here, as we can see here, this is the position where our heart is found. And the heart is going to give us the ascending aorta. And the ascending aorta is going to continue as the arc of the aorta. And then the arc of the aorta is gonna continue as the descending or the thoracic aorta. On the arc of the aorta, it will give us three branches. To the right, it's gonna give us the brachiocephalic artery. The brachiocephalic artery is gonna give us two branches more. It's gonna give us the common carotid artery, the right common carotid artery, and the right subclavian artery. The arc of the aorta is going to continue as the descending aorta or the thoracic aorta. But you also need to take note of this, that the arc of the aorta is found only in the superior mediastinum. It starts in the superior mediastinum and ends in the superior mediastinum. We are going to talk about that in our later videos. Now, the arc of the aorta also gives us two branches to the left. It will give us the left common carotid artery, and it's going to give us the left subclavian artery. Now, so at the anterior aspect of the thorax, you need to know that the arteries, they are branches of what we call the internal thoracic artery. Where does the internal thoracic artery originate? We have the subclavian artery. The subclavian artery from our upper limb, it is going to give us the axillary artery. Now, the subclavian artery has three parts, but we are mainly focused on the first part when we are talking about the internal thoracic artery. Why? Because the first part is the one that gives us this branch. The first part will give us the internal thoracic artery. The internal thoracic artery, it will run posterior to the sternoclavicular joint, and then it's going to descend posterior to the upper six intercostal spaces. Right, and then at the level of the sixth intercostal space, it's going to terminate, it's going to divide, it's going to branch into two important arteries. The superior epigastric artery that will go to the abdomen, and the musculophrenic artery. The musculophrenic artery is the one that is going to supply the seventh intercostal space, the eighth intercostal space, and the ninth intercostal space. And it's going to terminate by piercing the diaphragm and supplying the muscle, the anterior abdominal wall. So at each intercostal space, the internal thoracic artery is going to give two branches here. So these two branches, they are going to later anastomose with the posterior intercostal artery. We're going to talk about it here. And you need to take note of this, that the branches of the internal thoracic artery are called the anterior intercostal arteries. These anterior intercostal arteries, they are very short. As you can see here, we are going to describe later on. But you need to take note, these branches, they are short. They are not long, they are very short. And they are going to anastomose with the posterior intercostal artery at the level, at the costochondral junction. Yes, you need to take note of that. So here is the arc of the aorta. It's going to give us the thoracic aorta or the descending aorta. We also spoke about these branches, the two branches. Mainly want to focus on subclavian artery. And the second part of the subclavian artery is going to give us a branch, a very important branch, that is going to give us the costo-cervical trunk. The costo-cervical trunk is going to divide into two. It's going to give us the dorsal-scapular artery. From our upper limb, we know that the dorsal-scapular artery will take part in the anastomosis around the scapula. Right? But it also gives us another branch. This branch is called the supreme or superior internal costal artery. This superior internal costal artery is going to supply the first two posterior intercostal space, and the remaining, which means if we say the first two, we are talking about the first one and the second one, 1 and 2 intercostal space at the posterior aspect of the thorax is supplied by the supreme or superior intercostal artery, and then the remaining one, the 3 to 11 intercostal spaces. Remember, we only have 11 intercostal spaces. So the remaining one, the 3 to 11 intercostal spaces, they are branches from the descending aorta. descending aorta or the thoracic aorta. You need also to take note of this. As this arc of aorta is going to continue at the descending aorta, it will be projected to the left side. It will be projected to the left side. So we also have the structures here. We have the thorax. So you find out we have the thorax, and behind the thorax we have the esophagus and also and those things. So you find that the arc of the aorta will be at the left of the trachea. You'll be at the left of the esophagus as well. And this arc of the aorta and the left bronchus, principal bronchus, are the ones that are also going to take part in the constriction of the aorta. Or in the constriction of the esophagus. We are going to talk about that one. So these are our descending aorta. So these are the posterior intercostal arteries. Posterior intercostal artery, we are going to have one branch. So the descending aorta is going to give one branch of posterior intercostal artery at each intercostal space. At each intercostal space. It is different from the anterior intercostal artery that comes from the internal thoracic artery. Why? Because we have two branches of the anterior intercostal artery at each intercostal space. Right? So we want to focus here. Let's focus here and see how does these arteries, the posterior and the anterior, communicate. How do they communicate? Right? So as we can see, maybe this is just a transverse section, and we are viewing this as maybe the superior aspect. Right? So as we can see here, this is our vertebrae. And this one is our descending aorta. Descending aorta, this is the vertebrae. And the vertebrae, it marks the posterior midline. So to the left of the vertebrae, we have this one, the descending aorta. So this will give us this understanding that as we have seen here, that the descending aorta, it will give two branches at each intercostal space of the posterior intercostal arteries. The left and the right. So here, this is the left posterior intercostal artery. This is the right posterior intercostal artery. So the right posterior intercostal artery is longer than the left. You need to take note of that. It's very important. The right intercostal artery is longer than the left. Why? Because the aorta, the descending aorta, is to the left, is to the left of the midline. So which means that the posterior intercostal artery of the right is going to travel a longer distance as compared to this one. Are you getting it? Right. So as this, let's start with the right. As the right posterior intercostal artery is traveling to the anterior aspect of the wall. So this is the posterior aspect of the thorax, and this is the anterior aspect of our thorax. So we are going to find the structures that it will be posterior to certain structures. So firstly, we are going to talk about this one here is the esophagus. So the relation, so which means that the esophagus will be anterior to the right posterior intercostal artery. And then even the thoracic duct, it will also be anterior to the right posterior intercostal artery, as well as the azygous vein. Remember, the azygous vein is found at the right side, right? And also we have the sympathetic trunk. So the sympathetic trunk is found in at the side, the left and the right. So the right posterior intercostal artery is going to give us branches here, right? It's going to give us a branch, what we call the lateral cutaneous branch, that will supply the lateral aspect of the what? Of the thorax, right? And it's also going to give us these branches. It's going to give us the main posterior intercostal artery and a collateral branch that is going to anastomose with the anterior intercostal artery at the costochondral junction right here. So as you can see here, this is the anterior intercostal artery. The anterior intercostal artery is short as compared to the posterior intercostal artery. Since the posterior intercostal artery, it traverses a longer distance. You can see here, a longer distance. And this is just our anterior intercostal artery. Coming from where? This is the internal thoracic artery. That will give us the branches, two branches. They are going to anastomose. It is also very important. Right. So basically, this is all about the posterior intercostal artery and the anterior intercostal arteries. Right. from this being said, let's go for a short review. Right here, we said this is our internal thoracic artery. At each intercostal space is going to give us 2 branches. And then the internal thoracic artery is going to supply only the upper 6 intercostal space. At the 6th intercostal space is going to divide, give us the superior epigastric artery, and then also the musculophrenic artery. The musculophrenic artery is going to give us branches for the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And the remaining 10, 11, they are supplied by the what? By the posterior intercostal artery. This is our arc of the aorta. This is our descending aorta. The descending aorta is going to give us branches, each branch for each intercostal space. So the first intercostal space in the posterior aspect of the thorax, they are supplied by the supreme or superior internal thoracic internal thoracic artery. Then the remaining 3 to 11 intercostal space, they are supplied by the posterior intercostal. They're supplied by the dorsal aorta. Yes, and then here, this is the transverse section, our internal thoracic artery here at the anterior side, at the anterior aspect, and then the posterior intercostal artery at the posterior aspect. And yeah, so you just have to get all of this in your head. So in our next lecture series, we are going to talk about the superior mediastinum, the inferior mediastinum, right? I just highlighted that the arc of the aorta is in the superior mediastinum. So thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. It's yours, God, a useless student. Thank you.